The Bite of 87 is one of FNaF's most controversial debates, an event that sparked arguments ever since FNaF 4 released on July 23, 2015, leaving theorists divided for nearly a decade. But over time, the event has gained more context, through new games, teasers, and books that added pieces to the puzzle. Today we're retracing the trail, from the very first mention of the Bite in FNaF 1, through the clues and twists leading up to FNaF 4, to uncover how one moment divided the community and left us questioning what really happened. So hey everybody, I'm Jeeps, and thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. I'll cover more about it at the end, but with that said, let's begin. If you're an average FNaF fan, even one with just a small grip on the lore, you've definitely heard of the Bite of 87, whether it was through the theorist himself or this clip.
Was that the Bite of 87?
Needless to say, this single scene became one of the defining moments of the entire series, a mystery that continues to evolve as new games and books add more layers to the story. The first time the Bite of 87 was ever mentioned was during the very first phone call in FNaF 1. The phone guy casually drops a bomb, saying that one of the animatronics once bit someone's frontal lobe, forcing the restaurant to shut down. At the time, that single line sent the community spiraling. There were only 5 possible suspects, and as a kid, I always assumed it was Foxy, the one hiding behind the out of order sign. But of course, things go deeper than just a closed curtain and damaged looking animatronics. Fast forward to FNaF 4, the first time we actually see the bite happen, and everything we thought we knew gets turned upside down. The community was suddenly forced to reevaluate everything about the original incident. Was this the same victim mentioned in the FNaF 1 phone call? Was this truly the Bite of 87? At first, all signs seemed to point that way, especially considering what Scott told us before the game released, but a few major details didn't quite line up. First off, before FNaF 4 even released, the build-up through its teasers had everyone convinced it was going to center around the Bite of 87. The first teaser dropped on April 27th, 2015, showing Nightmare Freddy tipping his hat, one of the most iconic FNaF 4 teasers to this day. Then on May 7th, another teaser appeared featuring Nightmare Bonnie with the cryptic phrase, "Was it me?" Hidden within the teaser source code were also the numbers 8 and 7 repeated over and over, a not so subtle nod to 1987. Later on though, those numbers were quietly changed to 83, which completely shifted the narrative. More teasers followed, Nightmare Chica on May 16th and Nightmare Foxy on the 29th, both echoing the same haunting question. Was it me? And knowing Scott's love for trolling the community whenever a debate started to heat up, these teasers were the perfect bait. They pushed the entire fanbase to believe that FNaF 4 would finally answer the long-standing question behind the Bite of 87. However, while there was plenty of evidence suggesting that the bite we see in FNaF 4 was the infamous Bite of 87, 3 key details completely flipped that theory on its head. The first clue appears at the end of Night 3. As the crying child, you're able to wander around the house, and even outside, near what's implied to be Fredbear's family diner. But if you decide to interact with the TV inside the house, you'll uncover a hidden Easter egg, the screen displaying Fredbear and Friends 1983. That single detail immediately throws the timeline into question, hinting that the events of FNaF 4 may have taken place years before the Bite of 87 ever happened. This reveal immediately told the community that Fredbear's family diner existed in 1983, not 1987, which raised a massive question. If the Bite of 87 happened during the events surrounding Fredbear's family diner, how could it possibly be the Bite of 87, when the show on the TV was clearly airing 4 years earlier? But that wasn't the only piece of evidence. After FNaF 4 released, Scott quietly went back and replaced many of the 87 references in the teaser source code with 83. Not all of them, but just enough to make fans second guess themselves. It was a classic Scott deliberate misdirection to fuel confusion and reignite debate, and it obviously worked. The community kept arguing about it again and again and again. And finally, there's the most obvious clue of all. The Bite of 87 had to happen in 1987. While this might seem like a small detail, it actually means a lot in connecting everything. At the end of FNaF 2, the paycheck we receive is dated November 12th, 1987, directly tying that game's events to the year itself. And if you play one more night after Night 5, on Night 6, you get a chilling phone call from the phone guy saying,
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down. used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay?
One more birthday party. On night 5, Phone Guy also mentions that Jeremy will be moved to the day shift once his night shifts are done.
When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. Our position just became available.
So putting the pieces together, Jeremy Fitzgerald survives night 6 and gets reassigned to the day shift, where he's tasked with watching over the animatronics during a birthday party. However, that's when everything goes wrong. The strange, aggressive behavior of the animatronics during that event strongly suggests this is when the bite of 87 occurred. This detail solidified what fans had expected. The bites of 83 and 87 were two separate incidents, taking place years apart, and interestingly, it also lines up the timeline perfectly, setting FNaF 1 to occur after FNaF 2. In fact, Phone Guy himself confirms this connection in one of his FNaF 2 calls.
When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself.
That single line ties everything together, hinting that the same Phone Guy we hear in FNaF 1 is the very same one who trained Jeremy in FNaF 2. However, we know his fate from FNaF 1's Night 4 phone call. Over time, the community gathered enough evidence to clearly separate the two incidents, the bite of 83 and the bite of 87. But one crucial question still lingers to this day that keeps fans debating. Who was actually responsible for the bite of 87? Now, two names come up again and again, whether Foxy and Mangle. Foxy's relentless lunging behavior, always charging with his mouth wide open, has made him a long-time suspect in some eyes of the fans of the community. However, there's not enough solid evidence to fully cement him as the true culprit behind the bite. Mangle's case, on the other hand, is far more convincing. Their jump scare strikes directly at the player's head, swooping down from above, a motion that perfectly matches the Phone Guy's description of the victim's frontal lobe being bitten off, or something similar. It honestly feels like a detail too specific to ignore. While Withered Foxy technically fits the timeline, it's unlikely he played any role in the birthday party itself. By that point, he was confined to parts and services, practically dismantled. And on top of that, the older models were known to suffer system resets when exposed to bright lights, as Phone Guy mentions during night 2 of FNaF 2. So realistically, Foxy doesn't make any sense as the culprit behind the bite of 87, though it would be really cool. Mangle, however, does. They were part of the active toy animatronic lineup, built to interact with kids, yet their broken, unstable design made them prone to erratic movement. From both a gameplay and a lore perspective, Mangle fits perfectly. An unpredictable animatronic capable of the kind of bite that could have caused the infamous injury. And if FNaF 2 truly takes place in 1987, before FNaF 1's 1993 setting, or at least supposed setting, the timeline strengthens that theory. If Foxy had been responsible for the bite, Fazbear Entertainment wouldn't have kept him as a main attraction in the later location, a part of Freddy Fazbear's band. But the toy animatronics? They vanished completely, scrapped, quietly removed from the spotlight only to reappear in FNaF 3, likely because one of them crossed the line. It makes sense, at least from a corporate perspective. And while looking into information regarding the bite of 87, I took a look into some of the books, some of the novels like The Week Before, and while it states some situations showing Foxy attacking a night guard or a character, I still don't think that there's enough sufficient evidence to support Foxy's case, whereas Mangle makes a lot more sense. Plus, if you really think about it, Mangle is just another version of Foxy that was made to be more child-friendly. So take that as you will, but if you have another way to look at it, please tell me in the comments below. So with everything we know about both the bite of 83 and the bite of 87, these two events continue to echo through every corner of the FNaF universe, from the classic games to the newest books. And even though that short scene in FNaF 4 lasted only seconds, it redefined how we see the entire story, and finally gave context to one of the biggest mysteries in the entire series. Now hold up, don't close out the video yet, don't leave. I want to talk to you, the person watching this video. Whether you're a new viewer, someone who's been watching my channel, not subscribed or subscribed, I just want to say thank you so much for the support and for 1,000 subscribers. This has been a milestone I've been trying to hit for a very long time now, and after a lot of dedication, a lot of journey, and building a small community with all these people, fantastic people, it's been a lot. Since starting, I've learned more than I ever expected, improving my editing, storytelling, and getting to connect with you all. So seriously, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you all for being a part of it, and I think that the future of this channel is very bright, and we can make something amazing. So with that said, if you enjoyed this breakdown, check out my last video where we covered why FNaF 3 was misunderstood. And as always, I'm Jeeps, and I'll see you next time.